So it's safe to say that the situation with DeAndre is more of want to be cautious with him as he's coming back from this injury than any setbacks.
Yeah, you know, there's probably a few synonyms that could apply. You know, maintenance. You know, I think as very common, right? Guys come back from being out, and you look at the schedule, you see a back-to-back. I think that was the case with Bogey last year in the first part of the season. And, I've had that situation previously with guys where it's literally been throughout the course of the year. I'm not suggesting that either, but I think in this case, that's also why you have a minutes restriction. You know, so I think he's out there shooting right now. But that's usually, and not that I don't have input, but I'm very trusting and deferent to our health performance group. You know, and we're trying to just make sure we're proactive on that and stay in front of it. Would anticipate him playing tomorrow.
Trey spoke after the big Lakers win, and somebody asked him essentially if, with everyone healthy, if this is what this team can actually play like, and he spoke about, sure, but you guys have got to be more consistent about it. How do you go about finding that consistency right now?
Well, I mean, I think we're in the throes of it, you know, throughout the course of the season. Injury, you know, you never want to point to something that sounds like an excuse. But that the other night, having you know, a couple guys back and together, I think is helpful for this group. That doesn't always, you know, dictate consistency either. You know, you can be more consistent no matter who's out there on the court, and I think so. Depending on how we define that, right? That may not be our record as much as it is, you know, our execution. I've said that before. So the more we do it, it's kind of the more consistent we are. So every game, you know, that's what we're looking at, and you know, hopefully we'll continue to perform on that level. And I think the point being, you know, it's taking it game by game, you know, and really focusing on the next game. And if we can do that, I think we'll find that consistency. But it's not something you kind of hope for. It's something you have to do.
What kind of challenges Phoenix present with their three scorers, especially without DeAndre and another guy that you usually use on some of the high impact wing guys? How does that make it challenging for your defense?
They're unique because they're so efficient. You know, it's not just that they have those weapons, and they've found a way to really complement one another. You know, I think clearly Devin's, you know, every year he's taken steps as a player, and it's a credit to, you know, to his work ethic and his approach. You know, he's one of the smartest players in the league. I think he understands the game at a level that is really unique, and when you pair that, you know, with his ability, you know, and playing the role he is now, I think he's able to involve other guys, and you know, it shows what a great player KD is, that they're able to play off each other so well. It's not easy, you know, to be quite frank, and as I said, their efficiency, you know, whether it's shooting from three or, you know, they're the best mid-range team in the league, so they're capable of taking and making tough shots, and oftentimes it's difficult to make them miss, but that's the goal, you know, as far as how you contest and how you play, just making them more difficult as best you can. But you know, I wish I had a perfect answer for it. So I mean, you obviously have to be prepared to do different things schematically, defensively, and that becomes even more difficult when you have multiple weapons.
Coach, when you, I'm over here, Coach, sorry. Mic is loud. Anyway, Coach, just to piggyback off of that, with Devin being voted in as a reserve by the coaches, maybe if you could just speak to the process that you go through when you're voting for reserves, considering that it's a challenge, a chore to pick those guys.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I could say, and I think it's probably true of all the coaches that vote. You know, there's so many good players in this league, and you know, to try to differentiate between guys is always difficult, and you know, sometimes it's one of those responsibilities that you really don't want to have. But in Devin's case, you know, I don't think that's a hard one. You know, I think he's played at a level and shown what he's capable of doing, and that's not to diminish any other decision. But I've seen him play for a long time, and seen him continue to grow as a player. Every time he finds another level, and he's an impressive, you know, young elite player. He can do almost everything.
Quinn, can you talk about the growth of Trae Young's game?
Yeah, you know, Trae, to me, he's so unique, and I reference this frequently because I feel like it speaks maybe as much as anything is his willingness to take charges, you know, and I think that's something that shouldn't be lost on people. That's you know, he probably would get upset if I said he was 175. I don't know if he, you know, whether he's 180 or 175 or whatever, 182. He's usually not as big as the guys that he's stepping in front of, and he's done those things not just throughout the course of the game, but at crucial times. So whether, you know, he's got a reputation for making big shots, you know, he is confident in his ability, you know, at crucial moments, but he's also made big plays defensively. You know, I think, I don't know where he is. I don't follow all the details statistically because, frankly, to me, I see what he's doing as a player more holistically. But I know he's, you know, I don't know what, you know, you guys can help me out, second or third or something in the league in steals in his position or whatever. He's not just scoring and passing. You know, he's doing other things, and you know, he knows how to pass. You know, and he can score. And I think he's, you know, he had a couple of stretches this year that, you know, you just haven't seen in this league. You know, with what he did, you know, scoring and assists and where he is at this point in his career. And I know how much he wants to win. You know, and that's another component. Our record right now, you know, is not where we would want it. But you know, I think his play has just been at a really high level, and he's played winning basketball, and that's why I reference the charges. You know, he's a new guy, and you know, I feel lucky to coach him.
Kind of going off that a little bit, then were you surprised that Trae didn't make it on as a reserve for the All-Star game?
You know, of course, as his coach, you know, and you always try to kind of remove your bias. That's why they don't let coaches vote for their own guys, right? But I think in his case, in trying to be objective, you know, we talked about how, you know, some of these decisions are clearly difficult. You look at the body of work that he's done, and I wouldn't get into comparisons. I just think he's had an elite year. And, you know, as I said before, you know, to the extent that I wish our record was a little bit better, because I think that would, you know, better reflect the kind of year he has had. And I'm like I said, I'm proud of him and what he's done on the court.
Quinn, you talked about Katie's brilliance and how it unlocks everything offensively for them. On the defensive side of the ball, he's playing small ball 5 for them. He's switching from Sabonis to Malik Monk to De'Aaron Fox. How big of a challenge is he on that side, and what have you seen on film that maybe even makes him stand out for that compared to the average top scorer?
Yeah, you don't really think of rim protection, I think, from KD. And I think that's probably because the focus you know, is more on, you know, how gifted he is offensively. But that said, you just, you know, you articulated it, the impact that he has on the game with his length, his instincts defensively. He impacts the game defensively, you know, in a lot of different ways. I think he's also got feel too, you know, so that when he is off the ball, he's able to make plays.
Trade deadline coming up. How is this week different from a team dynamic?
Yeah, you know, I've been asked about trades, and I know this question was a little different because you're not asking me to comment on rumors. But for me, you know, that's just not something that I speak to. You know, that's not. There's other people in our organization that are doing that. And our focus is on the group, and I love the guys that we have, and you know, we want to keep playing better. You know, and whether it's early January or, you know, Thanksgiving or, you know, March, you know, so that's where my focus is.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Okay.